Welcome back to Waste Some Time with Jason Green. I am Jason Green. It's Wednesday. We're here live. We've got a very special show for you today. Going to have some surprise guests. This is going to be an interesting one. Probably some people who haven't seen each other in quite some time. They say a picture is worth 1,000 words. I think Mark Weiss would tell you that a picture could be worth more like 1,000,000 words. Well, 2 weeks ago, we did a live show here. Mark Weiss was my special guest, and we were going to uncover a very viral photograph. Who was in this photograph? In 2021, Toni Katane passed away, and as a tribute, Mark Weiss shared one of the photos that he had taken of her. And it was just like any other photo. It just happened to be one he took that no one had ever seen. It was an unreleased photo. In fact, this is the photo. And so it began quite a stir, oddly enough, where people wanted to know who is the guy in the photo. And all of a sudden, it turned into a bit of an online guessing game. And people were asking me, who is it? A lot of people thought it was Warren DeMartini from Rat. Then it started getting crazy. People were positive that this is Brian Damage Forsythe from the band Kix. And then people, a lot of people, I can't begin to tell you how many people said, this is Joan Jett. This is 100% Joan Jett. They can guarantee it. It's a woman and it's Joan Jett. A lot of people said that this is a photo of Tom Kiefer. A lot of people said it's Mick Mars. The guessing game was going on, and I contacted Mark Weiss to ask him myself, hey, who's in this photo that everyone's talking about? And he told me that he didn't know. Well, first he said he'd come on the show and reveal it. And then he said he didn't know, let's put it off. So we went to Key West. I was there with Stephen Piercy. Mark was there photographing, selling his book, The Decade That Rocked, that is available right now, link in the description. And I said, do you know who it is? And he said, I'm going to figure it out. I have some lost emails from Toni and some text messages where she clearly identifies who it is. So we got back. I said, I hope this isn't going to turn into Al Capone's vaults. If any of you remember Geraldo Rivera, one of my first jobs in the entertainment industry was working for Geraldo Rivera. But he did a thing where he was going to open Al Capone's vault. And unfortunately, they found nothing. So I said, this could either be a massive announcement or it could be nothing. Well, Mark came on and 11,000 people tuned in to see the identity of the guy in this photo. And the guessing began and went on and on and on. And when it came pressed, I said, okay, Mark, reveal the identity of this person. What did he say? Well, he said he wasn't sure. He couldn't find the messages from Toni. He then took a stab at it and said he believes it's the guitar player for the Cherry Bombs and Hanoi Rocks, Nasty Suicide. I did not completely agree with him on it, but that was the stab that Mark was taking. He did say that he will go look further, and he did, and he's gone into his vaults. I can say that today, 100%, without a shadow of a doubt, we will identify who is in this photo. We do have some special guests who will give their forensic expertise, and maybe they also know this person personally. So we've got a lot to get to. We've got a lot of photos to look at. We've got some interesting stories and maybe some old school New York City history as the show goes on. So anyway, I know you're on the edge of your seats. So am I. So we're going to talk about all these things and more right after this. Just wanna waste some time with you. Sometimes it seems too good to be true. Nobody out there can waste time with you. All right, there's the photo. Well, before we get into too much into this, I want to make sure everyone watching subscribes and goes to the Patreon link in the description. Click on that, sign up. You get to watch all my interviews and tour diaries before anybody else. This Monday, brand new Stephen Piercy tour diary that I filmed. I just got back from Houston, Texas, and we filmed a lot of fun stuff from that show as well. So I want to make sure you get on there early and check it out. We've got new interviews coming up. The last interviews, Cherie Curry, a lot of people really enjoyed that one. Brian Wheat from Tesla out there now coming up. We've got all kinds of cool people, Wednesday 13, and so many more that are coming. So that's the news with the channel. You guys know you can tune in anytime, watch these great interviews, and like I said today, you're going to get some surprise guests that maybe you didn't expect. So last week the guessing continued. Everyone was going crazy. Who is the person in this picture? And as we said, Mark Weiss did not. He did not know. So I'm going to go to the comments for a minute, and then we'll bring Mark in here, and then we'll see. I will also say that there are people who have guessed correctly. I will say that. And Mark wanted to reward the people. He's going to give somebody a print. And I saw some people who were sort of runners up who maybe deserve a signed picture or print or something of some of Mark's amazing work. A lot of people watching here, and I'm so glad that you're here. K-Rox Media says they missed Tawny and she was an inspiration. And let's see what else here. Karen is watching from London. A lot of people saying hello. And so we're getting to those. Monica's watching from Arizona. And let's see here. I'm just getting everybody's comments. I'm so glad you're here. Some people agreeing that it's Joan Jett. And of course, I can't help but share a super chat. It keeps the channel going. Elect Mike Campion. I don't know who Mike Campion is. I don't know if he's what kind of politician he is. But for $20, why not? We'll talk about it. You guys can make your own voting decisions. Izzy Stradlin, of course, is one of the biggest. Izzy Stradlin, yes. People were positive that it was Izzy Stradlin. And more importantly, Skylar thinks that my hair looks good at this length. So maybe it's me in the photo. Maybe that was me in 1987. Someone wants to know if the Bellas guessed right. The Bellas are a sort of teenage, maybe they're 18, 19, 20, 21. I don't know that age. And they put a guess in. I was surprised that the person they guessed they even knew. I said either you guys are dating someone really old or your parents told you who to think it is. Were they right? Well, you'll find out in just a little bit. Watching from Dallas, watching from Portland, Oregon, if you will. 150 people in the room now. People just starting to pour in. A lot of people. So, and yes, rest in peace to Raquel Welch. Lost another legend today. People are going. And then Tim says maybe he isn't famous. Maybe he was just there for the photo shoot. So I don't know where the hell Mark Weiss went. Oh, there he is. Okay, I see him. So let's bring Mark in, and we can begin the discussion, and we'll establish what we already know. Mark, it's good to see you.
Hey, how's it going? Thanks for having me back with some good news this time.
Yes, Mark, that you said you didn't want to let people down because we postponed a couple of times. And so you figured, I'll check the emails, the name will be there, done. And it wasn't that easy. And as I've said to you before, Mark, you've taken so many photos of so many musicians. Some have become superstars, some never made it. And this wasn't even a photo shoot that was published. And you told the story, but maybe you should tell it again for people who just tuned in. How did that photo session come about?
Well, I was doing a photo shoot to do a test with 20 for Love is for Suckers. It was Twisted Sister follow-up to come out and play, which I did. And we needed a model and an idea. And one of the ideas was have a girl kind of sucking on a lollipop. So she was over, she wanted to do some photos. So I said, do you mind sucking on this Sharp? It was like a big Sharpie. And she's like, sure. And I told her what it was for. And, she was on the Rat debut album cover. So she would be perfect for it. The EP, right?
And then back on Out of the Cellar. Yeah.
That's right. So I thought she would be perfect, no brainer. And I just did a little test Polaroid, and then we did some other photos as well. And then this guy came in, and I said, hey, you want to get in some shots? A little rocker. He had his guitar with him. So we did some photos. So it was definitely a guy. So it's not Joan Jett. So
right. And we're also going to rule out, Chad is saying the guy is you, which a lot of people have said. We are going to rule out it is not you.
Yes, it's not me. Back then it's like I was digging up all these photos of all these guys mentioned, and I'd say 80% we all looked alike. I had the bangs, the long hair. It's that was the look. So it was hard when you first kind of gave me the assignment to figure it out. I was embarrassed that I didn't know who it was, and And yeah, so when we were out at Rock Island Fest, I was like, "Oh yeah, I'm gonna tell you when I get back. I'll look on my emails and I'll figure it out." And I was very confident in that. And I didn't get back until because I stayed another week. I was in my in RV and we drove the day of the show. So when I got there, I looked up for the email. I couldn't find it, and I was like, "All right, I got to go on. I'm not going to tell him." And I didn't want to tell you. We talked before the show, and I didn't want to say I don't know. I figured, let's leave it for the air. Make it spontaneous, and because I wanted to, come on and explain. So that was it. I couldn't find it, and then this whole thing snowballed again into more, and like you said, there's over 10,000. I think we're up to 11,000 views, and people
Yes.
are interested. Uh, and yeah, so that's kind of where we are now.
And we're going to pay off today. This photo, this is we're looking at is the original. This is a slide of that original shoot. It was dated 1987. I believe it's May 1987. We were looking for any hints that we could get from looking at these photos. And as you said, that she had a friend visiting her. There was a few things that started to strike me as interesting. 1987 is the year of those Whitesnake music videos, and I thought maybe she was already dating David Coverdale, yet she has this guy that we haven't named yet. It sort of wondered maybe this was something that was happening out of infidelity. Maybe this was a little scandalous. This was a long time ago. So maybe that was a possibility, and we'll shed some light on that as well. I will point out that last week we showed a photo that had a better look of the person's face for the first time, and some people still continue to guess that it was, Mick Mars or whoever. So here is another photo from that shoot. Mark, I want to ask you when the guy came to the shoot, did you get the impression that maybe these two were dating or had something going on?
Yeah, I mean, Tony was known to date rock stars. That was no secret,
Mhm.
and hang out with them. She just liked the rock and roll lifestyle. So yeah, I just figured there was something going on. Wasn't sure. And when I saw this photo, it's funny. It ruled a lot of people out, but knowing who it is now and looking at a photograph, because we realized like I actually did photograph him,
Mhm.
and I found those photos, which I guess we'll show later
Yeah,
on.
we have a lot to look at today. Yeah.
But I looked at the photo, and it doesn't even look like like him, and that with the way he's scrunching his face up. So he looks more like Nasty Suicide than who it really is. I think. I mean, you agree with me with that, Jason?
Yes, I would not have known by the photo, by any of these photos. I would not have identified this person. I grew up in New York City, so I had seen this person, a bit. I'm a little younger, but I would not have put together. We're looking at just a couple photos of Tawny and how beautiful she was. Uh, I was talking to Stephen Piercy about it in the airport, sort of, and I revealed to him who it was in the picture. And he was making a point to me, and he obviously said it's definitely not Warren DeMartini. I asked how long Robin Crosby had dated her, and it seemed like it was on and off, obviously back in the old days, and it seemed like she was around during Out of the Cellar years, but then they broke up. And who she dated next or around that time, nobody guessed. And I'm really surprised, Mark, that nobody guessed one of her most famous boyfriends, and they didn't rule out O.J. Simpson. Nobody guessed the juice in that picture. But she did. Tawny Katane did date O.J. Simpson on and off. That has nothing to do with the reason she's not here. But and she also dated Chuck Finley, and we can say it is also not Chuck Finley. They had quite a controversy in their relationship.
A
Tawny,
restraining order. A restraining order. Yeah.
Tawny attempting to step on his foot on the gas pedal while he was driving, and some pretty big fights. But they were together for quite some time, and maybe had a family as well. So okay, so we know. Listen, we're letting people know if you had bet that was O.J. Simpson, you would be wrong. I want us to show just a couple more of these great Tawny photos, and I'm excited for the guests. A lot of sleuth work went into finding people, into finding answers. And I will tell you that the people who guessed who it is, who were confident, they were people who were just as confident in the wrong person. So these are great photos. I want to make sure that we also mention your book, The Decade That Rocked, which is available now. In this section for 1987, you will see that chrome, and that's how a lot of people knew this picture existed in this photo shoot. What's so interesting about this photo shoot, as you said, is it was never seen. These are unseen photos. It was really meant for the Twisted Sister, Love Is for Suckers, a test shoot. Mark also shot the Stay Hungry photo cover in addition to come out and play. So it would have made sense that he would have shot these photos of for that record cover. The record cover ended up being more of animation than what it was. You have talked to Dee Snider. He is aware that you have the photos, and at some point, I believe you might share some of them with the audience. And it's definitely something. It's rock and roll folklore, something that nobody really knew existed. And so,
Yeah, I mentioned it to D after we got off, and I asked him if he even knew that it was 20, and he says, "Oh yeah." He remembers seeing them and talking about it. We didn't use her. And then I even asked him, I said, if you're watching the show tonight and you want to hop on, just send me a text and we'll give you a link, and we'll show the Polaroids on here. But we'll show the Polaroids when you want to, but maybe we should wait
yeah.
to see if D even, chimes in.
Yeah, let's see. Let's see. Dee's promoting a vodka line too right now called Rocka Vodka. But
Mhm.
I'm just enjoying showing some of these photos that people have never seen. And Tony had a lot of fans for someone who was a video queen sort of in the beginning. She also ended up in movies, Witchboard, I think it was called, and of course Bachelor Party with the young Tom Hanks. And her appearances on shows like Howard Stern, she's become quite known, obviously, and and people really felt a connection to her. It's interesting because I never really thought about it, but I would hear a lot of women say that, what a part of the scene she was, and sort of a trendsetter in her way. This is a photo that I'm going to share now of you with Tawny. Is this from the same day or different day?
No, that's from the same day. And at first, if you can see, I have this. It was just me and her there. My assistant that was there left, and I have my little shutter button. So I'm taking the photos.
Oh, I
Uh,
see it in your hand. Yeah.
yeah. So I actually reached out to. Actually, I didn't reach out. He reached out to me. He goes, I was your assistant that day. I had this guy named Paul Duncan help me at the shoot, and I said, "Do you know who it was?" Because at that point, I didn't even know who it was. And he
Mhm.
said something like, I became friendly with him, and he invited me to the show that they played at Lemore's East like a week later. Now, I started going online and seeing who played Lemore's East and trying to figure it out because I had a feeling it was between a few bands, and I couldn't get that information anywhere. And he actually sent me a Polaroid of one that I gave him where 20 signed to him, love 20 Katane because he was a big fan. I mean, who was
Yeah.
it? If you were, a guy with, you know, desires.
Yeah. Yeah. No, absolutely. So uh, you did find the email, and you did find text messages. I'm going to tell you, and you already know this, but I'm going to tell the audience the email exchange that Mark had with Tawny only adds more drama to this situation. I'm looking for the email right now. It looks like she was using a different email account, maybe her sister's. It looks like. So I'm going to
Well,
show the
no,
email.
I think actually, her real name is Julie.
Okay.
So the reason why I couldn't find the emails originally is because I was looking under 20. And then
Okay.
when it just something hit me, and I'm like, wait a minute. And then I saw Julie, and in the email it was Julie at whatever it was, and so that's who it was.
All right. Well, we're going to open up now. This is like opening the vaults, but we're going to find something. But yet, her answers are pretty interesting. So I will point out that if there was infidelity and there were things going on, Tony is no longer with us. I don't feel like we're hurting anybody by sharing this, so we should mention that. Okay, on your screen right now is the email that Mark sent me. So this is forwarded, and as you go down here,
Yeah, wait, before you get to that, Jason,
yeah.
yeah, hide that for a sec.
Okay, hold on.
Yeah, yeah, don't. That's almost the. All right, I'm. Hold on. Oh, my phone just died. I,
Uh-oh.
I have my. This is the my text messages which started, and
Okay.
it gave me a couple of. It just died on me.
Mhm.
So I just found this that I didn't tell you about, but I think the text happened first, and I think I asked her, and she started talking to me. Oh wait, I'm back on. So let me see before we show that.
All right, so we'll
Let me.
start with the text messages.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. That's
And
and I.
I remind everybody that our guests are watching patiently. They've never been on this show before, so I'm happy to have them here, and they both have cool things going on in their own line of work still. So we'll
Yeah,
get to them in just a little bit.
and I haven't seen them in decades myself, and
A
I
little
love.
bit of reunion, yeah, a little bit of reunion here, and I think the audience is really going to enjoy this. 225 people have just tuned in now.
All right, here we go. Let me see. I'm going to the text right now. This. All right. So in 2000. Oh wait. The reason why I really wanted, because I was going to use it in my book, and I wanted to caption it. I wanted to put it in who it was, and so in 2016. Okay, I bumped into her at M3. That's the first time I seen her in decades, like probably since the photo shoot. And she reached out to me and she said, "Hi there, Mark. It's Tawny Katane. I just ran across these rock-like trading cards. Those are like my postcards that I give out to people.
Mhm.
They're so cool. And you asked me. I just saw the note to reach out to you because I really wanted some to be made out on me. And so graciously, I said, absolutely." And I'm sorry it took me this long, but it got buried in my office, and I'm going through my office right now. And wait a second, I'm going to take him up on that offer. So this is my personal number, my email address, Julie. That's how I figured it out to go to my emails. He goes, "I'd love to hear back from you and see what you're up with and what would be the cards. I love the Joan Jett. I'm such a rocker, but more definitely and so much cooler as the rock roll maker. Laugh out loud. Three exclamation points. These cards are beyond awesome. I'd like to see pictures that you can find, but I'll send you a couple. Boy, I sure hope this is you." So she just sent me this. She didn't know it was me, but it was me. And I sent her the picture, and so cool. Blah blah blah. Love those days. Everyone, no matter where I go, are just so sweet, and that they still remember those videos makes me happy that others are happy when they meet me too. In this world, sometimes it feels like there's such great divide and separation that when people see me, they immediately forget everything else. I can see this is their eyes in their eyes. It's not just me making them feel it, but their own memories of their lives and how wonderful a time it was back then for all of us. I'm so proud and honored and happy to have been a part of even a small part of it in two hearts. So I don't know, like you want me to keep going? Uh it's good stuff, but so then anyway,
It's great that you kept all of this. We never expect someone to pass. She passed young,
yeah,
and it's nice to be able to see the person's words, especially for people who really were fans of hers or wondered what she was thinking.
yeah. Yeah,
Uh,
so we basically went back and forth uh talking, and I sent her little things what I'm up to, like I send everyone. And um I mean, let me see, go back 3 years. All right, so then she goes, wait a minute, something about boyfriends now. I guess this could be of interest. Um, uh, I said, thanks. I made the post today. I had a picture in the post. I forget what it was, but she said, that's fantastic. Congratulations. I'm so proud of you. So proud of you. I just want your Facebook to try to comment on a picture of David Lee Roth because I was probably at that concert for the picture was taken since I toured with them for 3 years because of Pete Angeles, my old boyfriend, and it wouldn't let me comment. Anyway, I am a fan of yours and always have been. Again, congratulations, sweetie. Yeah, I don't let I back then I didn't let people, when I was first starting out or whatever. So she was upset that she couldn't comment on the Van Halen photo that I
Mhm.
posted. Um, and then she just went on about that for 3 years, me and Pete and Dave were the three amigos. He lived with us when we were in and on tour. It was three of us on vacation all over the world. If I got some David Lee Roth stories, I got some David Lee Roth stories. He wrote about me and his book, one thing about me to get wrong. So I'm going to get back at him in my book. So did she ever do a book, or she was working on a book?
I think she did. I'm not positive. I
I
think
think
she
she was working on another book though.
maybe it
Hmm.
didn't finish up. Comments from the audience. The suspense is killing me. I hope it lasts. Also, Jason says this is hair metal nerd event of the year, and then other people know that we're giving a slow roll. If we just told you, it wouldn't be that much fun. Although guesses are still coming in. I just saw Brent Muscat here as Ariel Styles, and let's see. A few people still guessing. I'm not seeing many accurate guesses as usual, but it's fun to see what everybody thinks. Okay, so yeah, so that's some of the text exchange. In the email exchange, and there's nothing. It doesn't help in any way that the email
No,
exchange.
but actually, I think we should read the. Let's see. Now I ask about hi Tony. I am up to 1987 in my book, and I am deciding on the photos to put in. And I want to search. I want to spell your name right and across the inside edition. Blah, blah, blah. I think you came by with a guy in a band. I said possibly Faster Pussycat. I don't remember. It was 87, and I said, "Did you remember?" And she said, hmm, "This is 2017. Maybe I dated Tommy Lee, who didn't. Robin Crosby, two of their album covers, and married David Coverdale. Oh, and of course Pete Angelis, manager of Van Halen, 3 years. But I was friends with everyone because I was an actor before the rock stars." Okay, this is just back and forth stuff. I think we can go to the what she actually replied to the email.
She
So I said,
does, but she does not. Well, she adds more mystery, much like you, Mark, in our last interview. She also adds mystery. Okay, looking at the email, you asked her. Let's see the whole exchange. She wrote, "Laugh out loud! Such great shots and effect, fantastic artist you are." And you asked her again in 2018 who it is, and you said she might have thought it was Warren, or excuse me, I'm just trying to read it. She said, It's definitely not Warren. Maybe a pussycat. Ask your sister." And so that's what you told her, and
right,
she
and this
said,
this is her answer.
"Yeah." And her answer is, and there's some typos and things. She said, "I do not. Was this New York or L.A.? I wonder if it was a guy from Faster Pussycats or Warren D. Martini. I need to send this to my sister. She might know what rock star I was dating at that particular point since there were so many. Not that I slept with, but that I dated and were friends with." Just to be clear, great photos, by the way, Mark. So she did not know who it was. It started when you said, "I know you came in with someone. Do you know who it was and what band?" These are the photos that you sent her to identify the person. Not only did she not remember the person, she didn't remember the city. Now, Tawny probably lived pretty fast. I think that would be an understatement. And she probably did a lot of photo shoots, met a lot of people, and so she did not remember. So just when we thought that we solved it, or that you had the answer,
Right.
Tawny kept us guessing. Hold on, I'm just fixing my
Yeah.
camera. Tawny kept us guessing a little bit. Even in death, the mystery was continuing, which only made this more interesting. So a few people guessed the person, but we still weren't sure. And that's when the sleuth work really had to come in, is can we find the person in the picture? Did we find the person in the picture? Is the person here, or are we going to be letting people down? Um, we don't know, but I see that everyone is enjoying this. Some people think the person might be wearing a wig. I don't know. Mark, we talked about it, and we'll get to the guests in just a second. There was a look at this time that Johnny Thunders or Keith Richards sort of look, and the Lower East Side in New York City and later Hollywood as well would. A lot of guys had this look, and a lot of the people that people are guessing, Izzy Stradlin, had a similar look. And this was in 1987, especially that look. So it is not nasty suicide. We have learned that. There's a few other people that we can rule out by seeing the photo. The one thing that I always say for the people who insisted it was Tom Kiefer. Tom Kiefer is a friend of yours. You shot the Night Songs cover. If it was him, you would have remembered. If it was Izzy Stradlin, you would have had a hot photo. You would have remembered. And so we knew that or Mick Mars. You shot Motley Crue so many times. So we knew that the names that they were guessing started to make sense to us, but you couldn't remember exactly what. And one of the bands you looked at and you said, I know I shot that band, but I don't think this person is in those photos, wasn't that bad. And so I will say that on the last episode, a few people guessed and you did not think it was them. I think the best thing we could do now is bring our guests in and see. We'll tease with them as well, but see if maybe they, when they first heard about this photo thing, if they knew right away who it was, and then if in fact this person was in a band with either of them. So I'm excited to have these guys here. And like I said, they both have their own thing. So I'm going to bring in Bart first. This is Bart Lewis from the band Smash Gladys. And Bart, welcome.
Hey, how you doing?
Good. I'm glad you're
here. Hey,
Bart. Long time.
Yes.
Jason.
And Smash Gladys began in 1984. So, right? Is that right, Bart?
Yeah, 83, 84.
Okay. And then also joining us from the band The Throbs, this is Ronnie Sweetheart.
Hey.
Ronnie, I'm glad you're here. Well, now, first of all, let's start by saying, are either of you the guy in the photo?
I tell you, I am not.
Okay, so we know that much. We know that you guys are not in the photo. There's a lot of interesting history with this. Now, I want to make sure, because these guys were nice enough to come in and chat with Mark and I. So I want to point out that you can see the Throbs, first of all, Wednesday, February 22nd at the Whiskey A Go-Go. There's a lot of bands that you might have missed and you might not have got a chance to see. There's a whole retro thing, as you know. Fans are getting younger. We'll talk about it again before you guys leave, but I want to make sure that if you guys want to go see the Throbs, if you're in the Hollywood area, make sure you go see it. And Smash Gladys, there is music being released little by little, and eventually there will be a re-release of your first album, right?
No, what I did was Sally and I were working on something before she died, and then I had some tracks, and then I kind of converted it though into, we wrote a pile of songs for our third record, and we recorded them at our rehearsal studio, and I got friends of mine who mix to figure out how we would kind of turn this into something that, is, a record. And we did it, and it's been released digitally. It's been released CD, and the vinyl is coming out next month. And and plus I added on 4 songs from Gene Simmons did our original demos in '83, and so I decided to put one 4-side record. I decided to put one side I put 4 songs from that. And and it's just a taste of what we wrote, because it was just do you remember what were their names, the managers from Def Leppard?
Bernstein and Mensch.
Yes, we were actually doing this for them because they were starting a label. We had just left Elektra and they wanted us to be on that label, and we were doing these demos for producers, and that's what I've released. I wasn't going to, but Sally died, and I did a rush, and we did it. I did it, and it's done.
Okay, so that clears it up. So it's unreleased music that people will get a chance.
Yeah, you can see it on YouTube right now if you want.
Yeah, and we're going to include links, and I got questions for you guys, both of you, that we'll talk about after we do the reveal. But I will say that it's funny that people are still guessing. Mick Cripps, they're still guessing. You would think having the guys here would give you a clue, but maybe not. Brian Forsythe, we're still guessing. And a lot of Eric Stacy, people are sticking with their guesses, I suppose.
Because they're going to find out who it is in a minute.
And a lot of people are excited that you guys are here. And I did just recently have Kelly Nichols on the show. So a lot of people talking about Sweet Pain going back a bit. So we've got that. And we'll talk about some of these things before we wrap.
Jason and Mark, you guys brought me on to like prove it was OJ, and now you've debunked it. I had proof and everything.
Yeah, I think well, it could still be OJ. Maybe people still think it's Mark. Okay, so to start this, Mark has sent me a lot of photographs, and that's what he does. So he went through the vaults. He's found some photographs, and now Smash Gladys came before Throbs, but I have a picture here of the Throbs, and I'm going to start with this picture. And Ronnie, you can tell me, is the person from the Tony Katane photo in this picture?
No, he is not.
Okay, so we now know that at least in this version of the Throbs, I see Danny Nordahl there, who's currently in Faster Pussycat and still playing in the Throbs with you. But okay, so we know that this photo does not have the mystery person. Now, I should say, do you guys both know who it is?
Yeah.
I do.
Not only do I know who it is, but I can tell you what happened, the story behind that picture.
Well, that's good.
Whoa. Hold your horses there, Bart.
Yeah. So for the people watching, we're closing in on 300 watching.
Yeah.
Live.
You know what the next mystery is going to be is, where is he?
Well,
With Sid Barrett.
Do either one of you have any contact with him?
I do not.
No.
All right. We're going to have to hire a private eye to get.
That's another show.
Right?
There's a few people from that time who are essentially missing. Mark Michaels, the original drummer for Faster Pussycat, is one as well. No one knows where he is. Last that I heard, it was almost 20 years ago, he was walking through Hollywood looking for the Scrap Bar. And for those of you who know, Scrap Bar was in New York City. And Brent Muscat told me that when they were recording the third album, he would hang outside, maybe it was Mates where they were rehearsing. He would hang out by the railroad tracks. And no one has been able to find him. And so if anyone watching knows, that's our next mystery. But yeah, so we've identified the person, but we do not know his whereabouts. But okay, so that you guys obviously
Can I say one thing? I could actually find his whereabouts because I know somebody. As I was doing the record, I met a few people from Sweden, and he sent me a video of the person walking, doing a guest spot at some band's show. It was several years ago, but we could
what
follow
city
him.
what
We
city
can
was
find him if you want, but I don't know if you want to.
Maybe we can end the show. Maybe we can end the show with that.
Yeah. See, it's still interesting. Okay, hold on. So I want to ask. Say it again.
I said, hi, Bart. Haven't seen you in years.
Hey, how you doing, Ronnie?
I'm doing good.
Good.
I'm assuming, but I'm not positive. Throbs and Smash Gladys played shows together, right?
No, I don't think so.
I don't think we actually played the same stage together.
No, I don't think so.
It's crazy because, as I said, I was a little bit younger, but growing up in New York City, I worked in a record store called Revolver Records, and on 8th Street, 6th Avenue, right next to Rock and Roll. And but there was always Throbs posters and Smash Gladys posters, and everybody knew them. And Electric Lady lives across the street, and it was an area and a time when you would see, Cheetah Chrome and everyone who was part of that time, you would see in the East Village. And so, that's why I assumed you guys would have played together, but I guess it never completely.
I don't think so.
No, I don't believe so either. I think we could both bands could draw a great crowd, so I think they would put us on separate nights all the time. So that's how New York worked. Trying to get the crowds in and get beer sales up, because Danny and I always had everyone else buying us drinks, so they weren't making money off us, except for the door and the bar.
Well, yes, I completely understand. We're going to talk more about the bands because, believe me, I've got some questions. But I want to say that we're going to give the reveal for the most part. Let's show a picture here to start. Let's see. We got so many to choose from, but I want to say that this is a photo of Smash Gladys. Is the person in this photo?
I don't have my glasses on, so let me see. Yeah.
Okay. So we have finally found a second photo, a photo that wasn't from the day of Mark's photo shoot. Now, people have guessed constantly different names. One of the names was the name Roger Lane. Now, Bart, was there a Roger Lane in Smash Gladys?
It's part of the bizarre story of this person.
Well, then don't say it just yet. But there's also the guess of a person named Roger Erickson.
Correct.
Was there someone named Roger Erickson in the Throbs?
Yes, there was.
Okay, so we've got that part. Now, Bart, explain to us who Roger Lane was.
Okay, so when I first met Roger, he was going by the name of, I think, Lucky Luciano, something like that. And I have to say to you that I got Roger. We were about to get signed. We were doing gigs still, but locally in New York, working on material. But we had the record deal, and so I was the guy. There was another guy in the band. We weren't a heavy metal band, but we had a guy who did 3 or 4 solos a night that did the blah, 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 but we ditched him. Actually, he left, and so I was going to go more rock and roll. Sally wanted me to do one guitar, but I thought I liked the Stones thing, so I got Roger. Roger was not great yet. But we just needed him to play some rhythm guitar. And I said to him, but you can't use Lucky Luciano. You can't. So I said, why don't you use your real name? It's a good name. And he didn't want to use it. So I just said, it was my fault. I said, Roger Lane, how about that? And he said, okay, fine. But that's how he got that name. Yeah. Same person, but not Lucky Luciano, thank God.
Yeah. So,
right.
So Roger Lane was in, we've confirmed, was in the band Smash Gladys. Let's take a look at just a couple of classic photos. These are also Mark's photos. Mark shot photos for the Smash Gladys album, right?
Did you?
It was for promotion and publicity. It wasn't for the cover.
Okay. There he is with Sally.
Yeah, and so what year do you think this photo is?
87, 88, 87, or 86. I can't tell you.
It's right around. Yeah, it's right around the time, obviously.
Right there, 1988.
There you go.
Here's the contact sheets and some other photos from that shoot. Now this was a big step from the shoot we did in 1980. Was it 85? Do you have that, Jason, or you want me to pull it out of the book?
If you have it, otherwise I'll look for it too. I want to show one more photo from that with him.
Okay, yeah, go ahead.
Well, and we did mention that Sally has recently passed away. So, rest in peace for Sally. But anyway, we're showing another shot that those are from that photo shoot. And Mark told me, we know that his studio was on 33rd Street in Manhattan, and we know that these photos were taken somewhere in that area. Right, I think, right, Mark?
Oh yeah, it was. Well, I don't know. It looks like it might have been. Those might have been downtown, maybe where they were hanging out.
It looks more downtown.
Well, I remember we went to your studio.
Do you remember this little?
This was in front of my apartment.
There you go.
13 East 10th Street.
Okay. Now.
Right, 10th Street. That makes a little bit more sense. Okay.
Yeah.
Okay, so let's see what else we have from the shoot. But Bart, you should probably tell us first, because you have an idea of what happened in that photo shoot, and I think that's what people are waiting to hear. Did you know he was dating Tony Katane?
Yeah.
And
So basically, what happened was we played a gig at a place called Nirvana, which didn't last. It was a promotion gig. It was because it was way up, like in a building. You had to go. Take the elevator up, which is not going to work for rock fans, right? But it was packed. It was a great night. Caused a lot of problems, and it was actually a big Indian restaurant. And she came to that. She was there. That's where they met. And like the pink boots. And so that's where they met. And he told me, oh wow, next day, Tawny Katane wants to go out, and he wanted to know what I thought of that. And I said, don't do it. And then I said, but if you do, you cannot tell he was kind of like married. I think he was married. She was a model. She was away on a shoot. I said, you can't tell her that's the whole thing, because it's once you do that, this, we all know this. You can pretend it's going to go on, but it's over. And but he did both, and obviously he took a picture of it too.
Mhm.
And they had a little, I guess, a week-long affair, and that was it, and it pretty much ended his relationship. I think, but it went on for another maybe year with his girlfriend, wife. I think it was his wife, who wound up with Izzy.
That's
Yeah.
right. Yeah.
Because we were out on tour, and Guns N' Roses came by, and I think we were having Family Day, where everybody can come, where everybody's family can come in, and so, and I think that was right around when Guns N' Roses showed up for a gig or two that we were doing, and Izzy became kind of friends with us. More friends maybe with Roger, because he was like moving towards him, and I think that's how he winds up with Annika. Oops, I shouldn't say names, should I? But that's how he winds up with.
Yeah, I think that a lot of that is pretty public knowledge at
Okay.
yeah, I think it's all out there, and I don't think Izzy Stradlin's going to finally pop up for this. That's it.
I think they're not together anymore anyway.
No, everybody's moved on to different lives. But it is funny how in today's society that wouldn't work. Someone would have it on their Instagram or their social media, and the whole relationship would.
How do they do it? How do they do it? It's like you can't. It's like your girlfriend's going to call you. You can't like go. Yeah, okay. I'm alone. I just show me. Yeah.
Yeah, there's no cover. Do we think that Tawny might have been dating David Coverdale when that photo was taken?
That I don't know. He was wondering that. He was wondering that, and I was like, that was another thing. I said you should kind of factor in, maybe,
Mhm.
But look, it's weird, right? Because he does it, then he takes a picture of it. Then he like tells his wife, like he's on a crash course for something bad, But that's whatever.
Yeah, well, but that's sort of rock and roll. I mean, I don't think the fact that there might have been some infidelity and other things and controversy involved probably makes the story more interesting and also not all that shocking.
Yeah, but I think she was making like about 5 times more money than him. So he's in a kind of vulnerable position there, yeah.
That could be an appeal as well.
Uh,
That could be an appeal. So for those who are watching, Ronnie and Bart have identified the person. A few people messaged us, and we're going to go back and check the tape and see who had that name first. There was 2 people, and Mark will send them something for their efforts. And I know one was the Bellas Band in New Jersey. It's a young group of teenage rock and roll chicks, and I said one of their parents must have grew up in New York and knew about it, because at 18 years old, you probably wouldn't be an expert on Roger Erickson or Roger Lane, for that matter. Although I bet you there's a lot of people discovering both of your band's music now. And so anyway, we've revealed the person, and Mark still has so many unreleased photos. Mark, I mean, I think more books or on your website. There's so much to see.
Yeah, there's a lot. And as I was going through this, I was digging deep, and I found these pictures of the Throbs, and you know, Sweetheart was like he had this bunch of hair. This is like, you know, it's like 85, 86, 87. That's when the hair was at its highest. And
It's
Wow.
pretty high right here.
and I accentuate it by gelling it and lighting it from the back, because I feel if you're gonna go high, you got to show it all off. So that's
Right.
this is
That
kind
is
of
high.
this is kind of a Mark Weiss, you know, photo shoot with a little bit of smoke and some gels, and you know, I always put whatever color I think matches that person. So with Sweetheart, I saw his tattoos. They had some blue in it, and he had some blue, you know, kind of eye makeup. And then I said, okay, this is a blue gel time.
Right. Nice.
Sweetheart, you probably never even seen these, huh?
I haven't seen a lot of those, but I think me coming out, I think you should send me an 8x10.
Yeah, no problem.
Yes.
I will. I'll send you more than that.
Perfect.
You guys would love to have some of these photos. It's funny how many photo shoots you've done in your career, and then, you know, to have these now, to have this archive is so incredible, and to see some of these photos that were.
It's like a time capsule. I remember doing a photo shoot at Mark's and just looking at like the catalog of photographs that he had. It's like an amazing time capsule. It's beautiful.
So, Sweetheart, do you remember when, like, how we met and all that kind of thing?
It was probably through Sebastian Bach.
Right. That's correct. So that was right 87. That's probably right when he just probably got in Skid Row.
Right.
They didn't. It was like right then, because I got married in 87. Oh wait. Oh no, that was before Skid Row. It was in Madam X. No.
Yeah. Well, VO5. I had played in a band with Sebastian Bach called VO5.
Well,
So
you played before, right, Ronnie, in that band?
I did, yes.
Yeah.
Not
And
very good.
and Sebastian talked about you all the time, constantly, and talks about you in his book.
Yeah.
But yeah, so at your wedding, he was right. He was at Madam X. I think VO5 was before that. I think.
Yeah.
Well, it was Madam X and then VO5. VO5, we only did, I believe, 2 shows at Rock and Roll Heaven in Toronto. You know, we were pinned as VO5, the Ultimate Hairspray Band. And Nikki Sixx and Tommy Lee were actually at one of the shows. And Sebastian and I are in the ladies' room doing our makeup, and because it's less congested in the ladies' room. So, and then Tommy Lee and Nikki Sixx walk in there, and it's like, oh, dude, and he handed him a demo tape and stuff, and that's how that all came about, really, you know. So it's quite some time back then, but yeah.
For sure.
Isn't it weird how the New York bands are all from Toronto, right?
Right.
We're all from Toronto.
That's right.
But I grew up in Canada. Sally is from Toronto.
Right. As a matter of fact, Bart, the first time I ever met you, it was before I'd moved to New York. I was there. I think I drove down with like 2 girls, or 1 girl.
You slept on the floor.
Crazy
right?
Sue, and I slept on your floor.
Yeah.
Yeah, in Staten Island, I believe.
Yeah.
Yeah, it was crazy times.
I remember that.
That was the first time I met you.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, and then I moved down. I think maybe a month later or something.
And Gord from Teenage Head and Steve also slept on that same floor, because I brought them down. I was gonna Iggy asked me to be in his band.
Oh yeah.
And this was just like as we were getting ready to release the Social Intercourse record, and I couldn't do it. I should have done it, but and I said, I have 2 guys for you. They're great. And he brought, and I said, you got to bring them down. He brought Gord and Steve down. Gord has passed away too. And but he liked Gord, but he already was set on his bass player. And he didn't want to break them up. Anyway, side story. But yeah, they slept down there too.
Wow.
It was a popular floor. Is my point.
Yeah.
So Bart, do you know when the first time I shot Sally?
Yes. Yeah. Was it like something? Was it something to do with Motley?
Oh yeah, that's right.
Motley
right.
video.
Yes.
Yeah, because she was like, what was she doing on the Motley video? She was in the Motley videos. That's her, right?
Yeah, that's her next to Vince.
Yeah. Yeah, that would be like what, 80?
84.
84. Yeah.
Uh,
Yeah. I do remember
What,
that.
Mark, tell me about what she was doing in the video. I mean, obviously she was a model or
She was like a samurai, you know. She was dressed up like, you know, with I think she had the Nikki Sixx makeup under the eyes, and we did a photo shoot, you know, while we were waiting around with Vince, with another girl. Yeah, there we go. That was in the magazines, I think. Actually, this might be the first time that's ever been seen. This shot.
Yeah, it's a good shot. It's a great shot.
I gotta
Sally
put
was
that.
a trained model. I mean, she actually was a model at OCA for all the artists that were. It's the big art college there, who were doing, you know, what I needed to do, you know, nudes and all that things. She was like, yeah, she was good at it. She was a good model.
Yeah, she wasn't shy.
No.
Yeah, it doesn't seem that way. Bart, Sally passed away in 2020.
Yeah.
I don't know if anyone has really spoke about it. Can you say what happened to her?
Yeah, she had cancer. I don't know. Like, we kind of fell out of touch. It was lung cancer for sure. I know that. This is what happened. Like, this is why things got very weird, because we were actually going to do. We got some people offered for us to do some shows, those festival things they put together, you know, and we would talk about it, and she'd always go, okay, and then she'd back out, and I didn't know what was going on. And then the other thing was we booked some sessions, and I started working on new material, and she never came to sing it. So we were getting like, you know, what's going on? And so she was testing the water because she thought maybe she could do it, but in reality, in hindsight, she didn't want to tell me that she was not well, and I don't know how long it was going on for. I know that she's one of these people who doesn't like doctors. You know, she has the whole, so she probably didn't, you know, like get to it fast enough.
Yeah.
But folks, you know, don't smoke.
Yeah, and she also passed away sort of in the beginning of COVID, it seems like, and so maybe at that point, even if you did want to get to a doctor, it might have become more difficult.
Yeah, but by that point, it's too late. You know what I mean? She was in cancer. You know, it's going on for 4 years, 5 years. You know, you got to, like, you know, usually it's a while before it gets to the end. You know, but yeah, that's what happened. It was pretty.
Yeah. I'd love to have both of you guys on individually, and we'll talk about your careers down the road. But for right now, I have a few points, and then also if the audience wants to ask questions, if you guys are up for it. But Art, I got to ask you about Aerosmith "Walk This Way" music video. I feel every now and then you discover these interesting parts of history. Mark, do you know about this?
No.
Say, okay, so Mark's going to get a good story too. Bart, tell us how you guys ended up being in the "Walk This Way" video.
I'm not exactly sure how we wound up. What I know is that Aerosmith were having one of their, I don't know, fights or whatever they have, and it was just Joe Perry and Steven Tyler. Maybe it wasn't a fight. Maybe it was just like, because it was just those two that did the actual music because of a different version that with Run DMC. So somehow we wind up.
Didn't want to pay the whole band, and that they just the story online, you know, who knows how accurate it is that they didn't want to pay the whole band to be there.
Yeah, so maybe, you know, it could be, but anyway, so me and JD and Matt are the actual three guys in the backup band. There's been a book written about this by a guy named Jeff Edgers, about that whole shoot, because it was quite a thing, because it was like the first real crossover, white rock music, and that audience. We walked on that stage. That was a totally black audience in New Jersey, and they were like, oh, "What the hell is this?" There was a lot of tension going on. It was a political, social event, and somebody wrote a book about it. He's a guy who writes for the Washington Post, I think, and yeah, he wrote a book. Jeff Edgers, "Walk This Way." I'm promoting his book.
Yeah, I know. Yeah, he actually used one of my photos in it. I know he did a story on when a book came out.
Yeah, he interviewed me for it. I think I'm in the book somewhere. I don't know.
Yeah,
he needed information on what was going on.
What a fun part of history! You're the lost Aerosmith members for a day, but always on video. And then Ronnie, I got to ask you. You guys have so many interesting things as well. Your record produced by Bob Ezrin and Dick Wagner. What what an incredible team. I had Steve Hunter on the show, who used to be Dick's sort of partner and played on a lot of Bob Ezrin records, $billion Babies, and so on. I always see you have a band like this, and you go the throbs. You got the look, you got the sound. You seem like you're in the right time at the right place. You have two massive producers, Bob Ezrin especially. Tell me a little bit about what that was like.
Well, honestly, we were a baby band signed to DGC Geffen Records, and they asked us, who do you want to produce? And we said Bob Ezrin. That's who we really wanted. And Geffen said, well, you're a baby band. We don't have the budget for that. And somehow we got Bob Ezrin's address and showed up at his door early one morning after leaving some club in LA, and knocked on his door and gave him a demo. He goes, what are you guys doing here? It's like, who are you guys? Well, we're from New York, a baby band from New York, Throbs, and we're signed to Geffen Records. We're about ready to do our first album. We'd like you to produce it. And then ironically enough, 2 or 3 days later, Geffen calls us up and goes, guess who we got you to produce? Bob Ezrin. We're going, oh, great. How'd you do that? But yeah, that was a funny story. And going back to, being on Geffen, I mean, we were the perfect band to go on the road with Guns N' Roses. But again, the same thing happened with Izzy Stradlin and Roger's wife at the time. That was kind of a downfall. There was some weird shootings going on in the hills of Hollywood and stuff like that, and we got blamed for it. And so that was the end of us going on tour with Guns N' Roses, which would have changed the whole dynamic of the band.
Are you saying that there was still controversy with Izzy and his wife in that photo?
Absolutely, yeah. I mean, even when he was in the Throbs, because that photo was before he was in the Throbs. He was still with Annika when he was in the Throbs, because I stayed on their floor too. I was a floor sleeper.
Well, this is all intertwined here. This sounds like a docuseries. What do you think?
Right?
Definitely a docuseries.
The floors Ronnie's sweetheart slept on. But yeah. But no, it was amazing working with Bob Ezrin. I mean, he didn't really change the song so much. I mean, but he kept us as the same band we were, like a street New York band. Ironically enough, it was a bit of downtime in the studio, and we were playing "Is It My Body" by Alice Cooper, and Bob peeks his head up and goes, well, that's a great song. That'd be a really good first single. I think he forgot that he produced it in the 70s or so with Alice Cooper, and we all just kind of put our instruments down saying, no, we don't want to do a cover song as our first single, but in hindsight, maybe we should have. But no, it was great working with Bob Ezrin. And then being on the road, we actually had Richard Cole as our road manager in Europe. He had some amazing stories for us, which were amazing. We'd get off the tour bus in Europe, and he'd be in front of us or something like that, and girls would be running towards us, and they'd run right past us and go right to Richard Cole for his autograph. But he had some amazing stories, obviously with Led Zeppelin and stuff. So
yeah, and he's not the only Richard that's involved in Throb's history. Nobody would guess, if you didn't know, that Little Richard appears on your album.
Little Richard Peterman, yeah. Met him in the Sunset Hyatt, the Riot House in LA. We were staying there as we were recording, and Danny and I met him in the elevator, and we said, oh, we're here recording, doing our first album. Would you mind, how'd you feel about playing it on you? And he said to Danny and I, it'd be a lesson and a blessing to play on your record, boys. So we had Geffen contact him, and they made the arrangements and everything. But that was truly amazing. I mean, he's a freaking legend. I mean, it's just amazing to have, be in the studio watching behind the glass, watching Little Richard play on your album. It still sends goosebumps up my arms.
Yeah, he liked rock bands. I've heard Scotty Hill from Skid Row told me a great story about how in his hometown he would call the hotel and he'd ask who was famous or what bands were in the hotel, and then he would just call from room to room to talk to
Great.
Yeah, to talk to the rock bands. He seemed like an incredibly interesting guy. Did you have any time to talk with him?
We did. We actually spent a little time in his hotel room. Actually, I think he was the only place in the Sunset Hyatt that had a fish tank built into the wall of his room, because he actually lived there when we met him. So yeah, we got to spend some time with him. Whenever we had to take him to the studio, we'd have to rent him a limo and stuff like that. So Danny and I would go in the limo with him to the studio, just keep him company and sit. I remember Danny had some leopard fur boots on, and he'd be petting Danny's boots, going, "Ooh, these make my big toe jump in my boot." And I think the last time he said that was to Jimi Hendrix. So that was pretty hilarious. But
in 1982, I worked for Us Magazine, and we did like human interest stories, and Little Richard was one of them. He was protesting his record company because he didn't make any royalties. So
right.
I spent the day with Little Richard. He didn't look like the rock star which he morphed into in a few years, like when you knew him. But
right.
back then, he cut his hair, and he still had the mustache, but he had a protest sign. He had a bunch of people. We did some photos. I went to his room and we hung out. And then towards the end of the decade, when I was doing the Blaze of Glory photos, Elton John came in and Little Richard came in too. And it's in my book, actually.
Nice.
Wow.
And then he was morphed back into the rock star. So I was glad to see that. And, he had that whole persona in, but for a few years he had some dark areas, but then the rockers embraced him, and I could see him seeing you in the elevator and going, "Whoa, this is going to be fun,"
Right. Yeah, absolutely. And it was a lot of fun for us. I mean, like I said, he's a legend, he created it. So
what song did he play with you?
Ecstasy on the Language of Thieves and Vagabonds, a song called Ecstasy, which is, is great. Ironically enough, we gave him I think 2 different songs. It was Rip It Up and Ecstasy. And I think he learned the wrong one. So Bob Ezrin had to go over the piano parts with him a little bit in the studio. And then, Bob Ezrin just let him go, and he played the track for him and let him go with Ecstasy. And it just turned out amazing. But like I said, watching from the booth, watching him play, it was like, wow, this is happening. I did something right in my life, I guess.
Yeah, what a great memory. When you're living it, you probably think these kind of things will just happen from here on out. You don't think that 30-something years later you'll be looking back and going, I can't believe I had these people in my life and in my career. I've been fortunate to have on so many New York guys. Have Cheetah Chrome on, and I had from Danny's old band NY Loose, I had Britt on, and she told some interesting stories. And it's fun to give some attention to some of the bands that didn't become household names. And as Chris, I said at the beginning, there's younger people who hear the bands and they realize that you guys inspired a lot of the bands they love. And so now's the chance. And maybe there's not so much great new music out, but you know what? There's a lot of great music that was made that maybe people missed. I always tell people, maybe Spotify doesn't pay the best, but you can have instant new music, and create a vibe in a time that was probably a lot better than a lot of what's happening these days. So I'm so glad that you guys are here to talk about a little bit of that New York history to help Mark and I also solve the mystery. People were starting to get irritated.
Hey.
And
so, I'm telling you, the next mystery is we got to find out where he is.
Yes, that's what I
will know where he is. I mean, he's in Sweden.
He is in Sweden.
So Mark, you said you have a video. You have a video. Actually, is it a YouTube clip or?
Yeah, I can get the guy. I wouldn't know how to get to it right now, but I can call up this guy because, like, when I was making this last record, it kind of went all around the world. You know how it goes today. Like, people, this has to go here to this specialist to fix this. Yeah. And there's some guy in Sweden sent me off to the studio in Sweden for something or other, and so he's a friend now, and he showed me this. He said, "Look who it is." But I think getting back to Roger, I think I really do think he's like a Syd Barrett kind of guy now. I'm afraid like he's like living with his mother, and just I don't know. He was like on that kind of it was yeah.
Well, you think once because someone must have told him about this, so I think he knows what's going.
He's not on social media.
Not at all.
We looked. Once the name started coming out, Mark and I started process of elimination. I wrote to Danny Nordahl, who's in the Throbs with you as well currently. He's also in Faster Pussycat. And I said, "Is this Roger Erickson?" And he wrote back, "I think it is." And for Danny, that was close enough. For Danny, that's like saying 100%. You know, the fact that Danny Nordahl reads Instagram was shocking enough to me. But and then a few people reached out to Bart, and then we started hearing more and more. And then knowing that the Throbs was playing at the Whiskey, it was a good time to talk about all these things. And you guys, we'll start with you, Bart. Tell us where people can find out more about Smash Gladys and the music.
So the new record is out on Golden Robot Records. You know, they're doing a lot of these records, the internet stuff, and records, and it's called Raw. Now, I didn't know how many people had used the word raw, like, because I've been really out of touch with a lot of it, but there's been a few records going up. This is Smash Gladys Raw. Sally actually had the graphics for it, and she wanted to call it You Can't Come Back From Nowhere. And I thought that's a little too grandiose, but then I didn't realize that she's probably talking about the fact she's dying. So maybe I should have used that. But it's called Raw, and you'll see it. It's got our graphic of the girl in the circle, and you can get it from Golden Robot, any store that sells it there, and you can listen to it on YouTube. The digital version is out. CD is not the same as the vinyl. The vinyl has a little bit more on it, and then the next pressing of the CD, I'm going to update it and bring it to where the vinyl is. But the vinyl is released in a month, and you can get it, I guess, at any store if they have stores, or any of those, wherever you get it. I don't know where you get records, man. You're asking the wrong person. I don't know anything. I know nothing.
Golden Robot specializes in vinyl releases. They've been a sponsor of this show. I've had the president on many times. And so, yeah, you'll do a Google search and you'll find the different places for that record. Were you going to say, Mark?
What year was that, was those recorded?
So these on this record, it's coming from, you got the Gene stuff, which is like 83, but that's only 4 songs. There's actually like 18 songs on the record. And then basically what happened was I got right to work with Sally at our studio writing songs, and I would record them as we wrote them. Me, JD, Matt. Roger was not really around. He came in a little bit, but he was already going off with you guys, I think. So a little bit, whatever he was on, I took him off. And so it's just me, JD, and Matt. And then there's some other stuff with then JD went on with Monroe, and then our next bass player does some of the sessions. And then a guy from Toronto helped me finish it out. 2 guys from Toronto. The guitar player from the Diodes mixed a bunch of stuff, so he helped me. He did some. He was friends with Sally, and then a keyboard player in Canada did some bass work that we needed to fix some bass lines that were just not cooking. So it's a configuration of different people, but it's all me on guitar. It's like the basic people: me on guitar, Matt on drums, mostly JD on bass.
Was it like 1986 then, would you say?
So no, it's after the Social Intercourse record. Oh, okay. It's like it's all going on between 88, 89 up to 92. Yeah. And I could do a whole full other record of this if I wanted to. We just wrote a pile of songs. And just, for producers. The record, it was initially board tapes for producers. Mick Ronson was going to produce. He died. We had a couple of, Sally was very feisty, and she got, at one point, John Paul Jones interested, but he couldn't do it for like a year. So we went with Mick Ronson, and we were going to Atlantic with him, and he got ill. And that story. He was actually, I was with him when he was like, it's a pain in my back. It's just so bad. I don't know. I got to go to the doctor. It's so bad. It's so bad. And the pain in the back was, again, it was cancer. And so he went back to Hull because his sister is a nurse in England. And so he wanted to go home, which makes sense. And he went home and he died. God, I'm depressing. I will
undepress you with this photo shoot we did in 1986.
All right, who's here? Oh my God, who are these people? Okay, let me see who I can.
Let me see if I can. No, that's Liz.
Okay, so that with the tongue out is me, looking very new wave. That's Marcel. Marcel was from Toronto, and he played with us on the very first record, a little bit that we did in Rockfield in Wales, and so he played with us in that, and that's Matt. I don't know. Obviously, the bass player didn't show up, so be it. And that's that. So that's Matt. Yeah. Okay. The other picture.
No,
I don't know. That's Sally.
Do you know who this is, Jason?
No, I don't know who that is. That's none of us.
No, it's not you guys, but it's a band from Chicago, and they had one album out. I think it was on Atlantic, and they were pretty good.
Oh, okay.
Do you know who they were?
I can't get
DeMalls.
Oh,
Oh,
yeah. Okay. Yeah. Sure. I know they are. Yeah.
They wanted to be let's see, the Chicago Dolls, I think, and then the New York Dolls wouldn't let them, so they changed it to DeMalls.
Yeah. No one's going to be the New York Dolls.
They wanted to be the
That's not
Chicago
gonna happen.
Dolls, the Chicago Dolls, because they were from Chicago. But
Yeah. People have tried that routine. It doesn't work.
yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. I had the drummer for DeMalls on the show. It never aired because I asked him all these questions about a lawsuit he had with the guys in Poison, and it turns out he wasn't supposed to speak about any of the things that I asked him about. And so,
Girls, where are you?
so that interview on the shelf for
Come
right
here. Come here. Come here.
right
No,
now.
Billy,
Okay. Wait. I'm introducing my daughters.
Yeah.
Oh,
They
yeah.
just walked in. We're on vacation. Come here. I have twin girls, and they're 12. Come, and they don't look alike at all. Come on in. The photo.
Yeah, it's a family event.
There we go. Okay, come on. And then you can leave. These are my kids.
Do they listen
Where
to
are you?
Smash
You're not in the
Classic?
photo. Get in the photo. You're in the
There you
photo.
are.
Okay.
Do
Okay.
the kids
Thank you so much.
know that Dad's a rock star?
All right. I had to do that because they just walked in, and I just thought, why not?
Yeah, they're probably like, I'll never watch this. I'm going to go TikTok and
They're not. They don't TikTok, but they have their own. The one who just cut her hair short, the brown hair. She's a violin player. She's really good. She's going on. She's already doing gigs. She's
Nice.
Yeah.
have they listened to your music? Do they know Smash Gladys?
I let them listen to rock and roll. They found it. I don't force it on them. They have found it. Some of it they like. They don't listen to metal. They listen to like rock and roll and blues, a little bit jazz. My wife, was the bass player in Cracker for a while, so she's still very involved in jazz because that's what she also does, radio stations. So they listen to a lot of jazz. They listen to rock and roll. Yeah, they're getting, they're good.
Yeah.
I got to say, Bart, that's bad parenting. I definitely push it on my daughters to listen to rock and roll.
I do. No, rock and roll. I just think I don't actually let them listen to. They didn't listen to metal. I didn't say no. I just didn't. Really
I'm just teasing you, Bart.
I didn't do it. There's the Stones, Queen, all that stuff they've listened to.
I've
Bowie,
heard along the
you
way.
guys.
There's a rock and roll
Stuff.
curse that rock and roll musician guys end up with daughters. It seems like you both have daughters.
Yeah.
Ooh.
Keith
Yeah,
Richards
we
has daughters.
do.
Everybody has daughters. It's Jimmy Page, I think, has daughters, right? It's like it's the daughter. I don't know what it is, but I'm so glad I have daughters. I
Payback.
love daughters.
It's payback.
It's payback. It's good payback.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But
Ronnie, tell me a little bit about the Throbs. You've gotten it back and forth over the years a couple of times. So talk a little bit about where we're at now.
yeah, well, basically I'm borrowing Fast Pussycat's band, and me up front singing, doing the vocals. So we do shows when we can, and if it's profitable enough, obviously, and it's got to coincide obviously with their schedules. I wish Fast Pussycat would hang on to two guitar players for a bit longer, so I didn't have to keep switching guitar players so much. So, but no, all the guys are great. We are doing a show a week from today, the world famous Whiskey A Go Go, February 22nd. We're doing pretty much the whole album in its entirety. Doing a couple songs I haven't sang in probably over 25 years, like Honey Child, like some slower songs and stuff. So it should be fun. It's an all ages show too. So Bart, you can bring your kids too for vacation.
I'd love to, but I think, what is it, in a week? No, they got to go back to school. We're going back to New York in a week, but best of luck.
Yeah.
Have
Thank
a
you.
great show.
Thank you very much. My daughter's coming. She's 16. My daughter just started playing guitar again, and she's totally into typo negative. She's, Dad, can you teach me how to play this typo negative stuff? I said, I'm not a guitar player, but here, I'll help you. You know, I play the guitar for writing purposes. So, but
Yeah, I
so
tried to get her May.
it's great to hear her playing typo negative in her room there. It's like, oh, better than the hip hop she was listening to a couple years back. So
Yes.
that was the devil's music to me.
No, I'm with you. When I'm on the road with Stephen Piercy, we see Quiet Riot a lot. The current drummer for Quiet Riot is Johnny Kelly from Typo Negative,
Right.
a Brooklyn guy himself, and it's fun to see. They play for 1 second. They play a little bit of Black Number One in the Quiet Riot show.
Right.
And
Nice.
it's so much fun. I always think, what would Peter Steele think of Rudy Sarzo? You know, it's so crazy.
Right. Yeah.
But kids are doing a good job, I find, of discovering their own music nowadays. They almost don't need the push. There's so much out there. And I can't tell you, Mark, you know better than anyone, your book, sure, there's people who are buying The Decade That Rocked who were there. But I think there might be more people who are buying it who wish they were there. I'm showing a picture of the cover with the great Alice Cooper holding it. But there are so many people who would rather have lived during this time, and I can't speak for all of us, but some of us probably wouldn't mind going through that time again, based on today.
I was actually telling my daughter the same thing a couple nights ago. I said, I'd like to relive that time and not have to change anything, but just live it exactly how it was and go through the good and the bad the way it was, just because it was just a great time, you know? I wouldn't have to change anything for it. But yeah, I was just telling her that the other day.
Yeah, it was a fun time. I mean, it's for me, it was a nonstop right out of high school. You know,
Right.
sneaking into concerts. You know, Kiss, Led Zeppelin, and selling. And then you know, starting to shoot on the road with Van Halen right away, and all the bands that I loved, and then new bands that I just met, like Motley Crue and Rat, and the Throbs and Smash Gladys and everyone else. It's like every time, you know, it was like making 4 or 5 new friends each time I did a photo shoot. So it was great. It's fun stuff.
It's funny you say sneaking into clubs. I remember back in Toronto, Canada, growing up with Sebastian Bach, we'd go to Larry's Hideaway all the time because we could get in. We were underage, but we'd just look at someone's stamp on their hand and just go down to the deli and buy the same right color marker, mark something on our hand and smudge it like we were sweating. Yeah. And we just walk right in. Sebastian's like 6 foot something, so he didn't have so much of a problem. But we used to always sneak into Larry's Hideaway that way in Toronto. It was great.
When you guys were playing New York City, I was sneaking into the Limelight and the Cat Club.
There you go.
I was probably 15, 16.
Right.
But they, no one. It was a different time. New York was a different time. Most of the time, nobody cared. And when you left, you came out at 5 in the morning, 6 in the morning. There was no curfews or any of those type of things.
Right. And you go to a speakeasy.
Yeah, it's a different world. As I was talking about young people discovering music, what also is fun is that young people will discover bands that we have to stop and go, huh, that wasn't. It used to be MTV sort of dictated what you watched, you know, or radio. But now, someone's watching right now, you know, the Bellas, they're teenage musicians. Someone's going to go and listen to Smash Gladys and the Throbs, and they tell one person who tells one person, and it goes in a video. And the next thing you know, these bands like yours are getting a whole new life, which is so great to see.
Yeah. MTV was kind of like the beginning and the end. It was the beginning of something, but it was kind of like the end of something, of sort of the natural motivation of rock and roll. I could say this. I was actually on the Firm shoot, when Jimmy Page was interviewed by MTV for the first time. And they had to shut it down because they'd say to him, "What's it like making your first video?" He'd go, "Well, you know, it's not music anymore."
Right.
And they're like, cut, you know. And they couldn't get him to you know, he kept on going, "But it's fake. It's right. It's not real anymore." So MTV kind of like started this whole thing. It was the big promotion, the new marketing, huge marketing. You could all of a sudden make a band superstars in a day, but there was a downside, you know, and we paid for the downside because, you know, it's hard to get it all started up again.
Yeah.
I think like those new tracks you have, Bart, or the old tracks that you're releasing, if you put together like a lyric video or a cartoon, not cartoon, an animation of the four of you or five of you,
Yeah.
As you were back then,
Yeah.
I think that could take a light, that could take off. I mean,
Yeah, I've been trying to figure out how to do it. I don't know that many technicians to do that, but I've been thinking about how to do those types of videos. And
you call me. I have some ideas. It doesn't even cost a lot of money. So,
great. Thank you. I will. I'll call you. I'll call you like tomorrow.
Yeah.
What a great way, though, for the music to live and Sally's memory to live as well.
Yeah.
What a kind of cool thing. And so hopefully Mark will set you in the right direction.
Yeah.
And, for any new Throbs music, Ronnie?
Danny and I have been like working on a couple new songs and stuff like that. But right now, because everything going on, we've just been concentrating on getting Sam, the guitar player, rolling on the songs on the album right now. So that's it. There may be a surprise guitar player showing up at the Whiskey also. I have to mention, I can't say who it might be. Maybe it's Roger Erickson. Who knows?
I better get out there. Well, that's good. So listen, surprise guitar player. It's a Wednesday night. It's a little bit of an earlier show. It's all ages. Make sure that everybody checks that out. And like I said, I'd love to have you guys come back on individually, and we'll talk a little bit deeper about your careers, because we really just scratched the surface. As Mark knows, every one of his photos, every subject, there's a million stories, and this 6 degrees of separation that we start to find is crazy. And and then out of nowhere you have Little Richard, and and then Bart's in the Walk This Way video with Aerosmith.
We had Ozzy. We had Ozzy on the Social Intercourse record.
That's right.
He sang a song called Castanastes. You can hear him. It's very clear. He's just, he was, I don't know how that he just walked. He was in the next studio actually, and at some point we would meet in the common room, and at some point he just showed up with his mic stand and knocked on the door, because I was like still working on the record. We did a mix and we had to go to LA, and I had to finish it up and remix with Michael Wagner. And Ozzy just walks in. He goes, "Can I sing on this one?" He's got his mic, and what are you going to say? No. So of course. So those were the days. That was just the way it was. It was a lot. It was a lot of spontaneity still. Without spontaneity, there's no rock and roll.
Bart, I got to say, Bart, I was watching YouTube a couple nights ago, and I came across some live footage of Smash Gladys. I don't think it was a Cat Club. The picture quality wasn't that great, but the sound quality was amazing. It was a whole show, and it just blew me away. Like, I mean, you guys were flawless. It was just so amazing. It inspired me once again, all these years later. But it was so good. I wish I knew where it was. I don't think it was the Cat.
We're slowly releasing a few videos. I think I have just today. I got a guy who helped me edit some live stuff to release another one. We're slowly releasing those, but it's just, of course, the quality up. And and by the way, if you're writing songs, call me, because I love writing songs.
Before I left New York, I think you called me 2 days before I moved to Arizona. When I left New York, you called me and go, "Dude, let's get together and like write some songs."
I love it.
I would love to, Bart, but I'm moving to Arizona like in 2 days.
I love it. I love troubleshooting. I like going, what riff goes with this chord, and how do we get a bass line that makes it groove? I love that shit. That's what I do. I love it.
That's not
That's
too
what I
late.
used to love.
To write together. You're a link. You're a video stream link away from writing some songs. So people can connect in an easy way. And so I'm so glad today that we answered that question about Roger Lane, aka Roger Erickson. We know that he's in Sweden. Or Lucky Luciano. How could I forget? Where it all started. And Mark's book, The Decade of Rock, really started this whole crazy discussion. A little tiny slide of Tony from 1987, and then Mark's words when she passed led to people into this ridiculous guessing game, and not even people who were rock fans were getting involved. Everybody had an opinion, and so I asked Mark at one point, if we keep waiting, do you think the person's just going to come forward on their own? And
That's who I thought. I thought who the other guest was. I thought it was going to be Roger or
Yeah.
Bart.
My
That would have
question,
been
and this is an offline question, and you don't have to answer it. It's like, because why not Pete? I loved Pete. Hagen?
Pete Pagan.
Yeah.
What, in the picture or in my band?
He was in your band.
Yeah, I know he was in my band.
He had a great sound.
Yes, he did. And we got a lot of interest with him. And Roger joined the band, and we were a 2 guitar player band for a little bit. And we let Pete go just for, sort of reason that we thought were appropriate at the time.
Yeah.
It's
Alrighty, this was a question I always wanted to ask because I thought Pete, he had a pretty cool sound going on.
Yeah, I mean, he had that sort of punk vibe. I mean, when I first moved to New York and we started the band, we were doing a lot of the songs off my album from Canada, which was a lot more punkier than the album where we did Language with Thieves and Vagabonds. And so Pete had that sound, and he was totally into everything we were doing. Just when we got Roger in, and we had 2 guitar players now, and it just didn't gel right. I always liked a 4-piece band myself. I never liked 2 guitar players. No offense, Bert, but
I agree. I think
guitar players, man.
Yeah, I agree with on both of the SG records. I'm pretty much doing all the guitar. Roger did very, minimal amount of guitar, and I just like the Stones' Aerosmith vibe.
Yeah.
And also, I just thought that you need a great tech to go out with a guitar consistently. It's hard when you don't have a ton of money. You need a great tech. So it fills out the sound, but no, overall, it's so much better to just do one guitar. But I just brought it up because I'm still friends with Pete, and I thought he had a pretty. Anyway, I'll leave it alone.
I'm so honored to be amongst all of you. As someone made a funny point, they said you guys should make a record. Mark will shoot the cover. I'll promote it, and it'll be a smash. But it's great to hear so much history. And like I said, we just scratched the surface. Mark could tell you a story. Mark, you should do a story a day because of all the people you've been involved with in photos. And who knows what other mysteries are in those photos of yours or scandals that you probably don't remember happened.
Well, yeah, my next, I have 2 books that I'm going to be working on. I just finished the Kevin DuBrow Quiet Riot, Keep on Rolling. And now I'm going to start self-publishing or publishing with Mikkel, my girlfriend. We're going to start a publishing company. So we're going to start cranking out these books. So I have a lot of books that are going to be coming out. I think the next one might be like my behind the scenes photos. Like the Decade That Rocked were more about, photos that kind of like got me to another level or inspired me or showed the fashion, had a story behind it. This next one is just going to be total like on the road, on the buses, a lot of black and white. See, back then I shot a lot of black and white because it was, cheaper to process. And I would just take the contact sheets and throw them in my files and not sell them because the magazines only paid $25 for black and white and they paid $100 for color. So I have all these black and white contact sheets and negatives that I haven't even seen. So for me, it's like looking at them for the first time. So I'm going to call it like probably the Decade That Rocked to keep the brand and call it like,
black and white
or behind the scenes or, shit you haven't seen before, but and these are things that could get people in trouble.
Yeah. Next.
We're learning that. Yeah. We're learning how much trouble that Tony Contain photo, had. So anyway, guys, again, the Throbs Wednesday, February 22nd at the Whiskey a Go Go. All ages, come out and see it. Smash Glass, new music album, vinyl, available on Golden Robot Records. I'll get the links and we'll put them in the description. And you come back, we'll talk some more. And hopefully maybe one of these days you'll come back and we'll have Roger on here as well. Everyone's looking for him now.
Yeah, we'll see. I can find him for you if you want. I know where to go. If you really want, I don't know if he would come on because I just think, I just think he's gone. I've not
He's
gone
never
to
been on social media.
Yeah.
Yeah.
He's-
Well, yeah,
I think
we'll
he's
see,
on it.
we'll see what happens, guys. Thank you for wasting a little bit of time. I use that as a name because it was a song that my band wrote, but it's never a waste of time. It's actually a great time well spent. I'm so happy to turn people on to your music who might not been familiar, but also to connect people who heard it and loved it, and be happy to know that you still have it out there. Same with Mark and the book. I think people know, but I say it every show. Decade the Rock is just the ultimate coffee table book. You pick it up and you go to any page, and you can have stories and create new memories about some of these photos as well. So I recommend, we have the link in there, thedecadetherock.com. Check it out. Again, thank you so much, guys. I hope you have a
Thank
great
you. So nice to meet you.
Thank you,
Really.
Jason.
and
So nice to meet you. Nice to
we'll
see
do,
you
yeah,
all again.
and we'll do it again.
All right. Good to
Thank
see you, Mark.
Thank you so
Good night,
much.
everybody.
Good to see you, Bart.
I'll call you guys. Have a good
And
one.
thank you everybody for watching. Make sure you subscribe, and we will see you again next week. Thank you.